Welcome to Alive and Well, the podcast for the new era of high achievers. You're done burning out, and you're ready to lead, work, and live in a rhythm that honors both your brilliance and your body. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a trial attorney turned nervous system strategist, and I've lived the burnout story. I know what it's like to chase your goals at the expense of your well-being. And I also know it doesn't have to be that way. Here, we're redefining success. It's where productivity feels peaceful, boundaries feel like freedom, and energy comes from within. Each week, I'll share practical tools for nervous system regulation, time mastery, and somatic strategies so you can show up with clarity, calm, and confidence in every part of your life. Because you, my friend, were given a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. So here's to life and living it fully. This is the path to feeling alive and well. Let's dive in. Hey guys, Michelle here. Welcome back to Alive and Well. On the show today, we're going to talk about what it means to manage our stress and why I don't think managing our stress is the right approach. So maybe you haven't been feeling like yourself, you've been exhausted, you've been stressed, and maybe you've gone to see your doctor and they've run labs or what have you. And, you've been told in not so many words that you really need to start focusing on managing your stress. That ain't it. So I have lived this, and I've coached so many women through this. And maybe you can resonate, because I remember for me back, my kids are 7 and 9 now, but back maybe 7-8 years ago. And it was just like the timing of it was so frustrating for me because my kids had just started sleeping through the night, like they're babies. And at that same time was when I developed this really awful case of insomnia. I would fall asleep fine. Like I was so tired. I was just like eyes closed, head hits the pillow, and I'm out. But then almost every night, somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., I would be awake again and just staring at the ceiling of my bedroom. And nothing in the moment was wrong, right? There was no emergency. There was no like big deadline I missed, no big stressor I could just point to for why I was struggling to sleep. My brain had just decided that, maybe 2 a.m. is a great time to replay that conversation from last Tuesday or mentally draft like 3 emails that I would send in the morning, what have you. But the part that really gets me is that at this point, I felt like I was doing everything right. I was so frustrated with that 2 or 3 a.m. wake up that I went down the rabbit hole of optimal sleep habits, right? I was like doing blue light glasses after 7 p.m. I wasn't eating 3 hours before bed. I was taking magnesium supplements. I had this wind down routine every night that was, so elaborate. It felt like it had become a part-time job. And I spent so long doing this sleep research. I learned all about circadian rhythms and cortisol curves and sleep pressure, like the whole thing. And I was implementing every protocol that I had learned and found, right? And what happened was so interesting because my sleep started actually getting worse. It didn't get better. It got worse. And it took me a really long time to figure out why. But then when I did, it kind of broke my brain a little bit in the best way, because all of that planning and precision and all of that optimization around my sleep and all of that controlling of every single variable, guys, my nervous system was reading it as like something must be really wrong here if we need to be this careful. And the protocol that I created to help me sleep was actually creating threat signals through my nervous system. I was so busy managing my sleep that I couldn't sleep. My friend, is the episode today. Okay, so we're going to talk about why stress management might actually be making your stress worse. So let's talk about your habits for a second. These are the habits that you're probably pretty proud that you've put into place. And I love these for you. These are the ones that you would tell your therapist, or if I was your coach, you would tell me, if I asked you how you're taking care of yourself, you would point to these things, right? but I want to go through a few of them that I see pretty often. And I just want to suggest that some of them, not all of them, but some of them might have that same energy as my really rigid sleep protocol during those years when I was trying to get my sleep right. I had such great intentions, and I'm sure you do too. Was there solid research behind what I was doing? Yes. It was just that there was like just enough rigidity wrapped around all the things I was doing to quietly activate my nervous system every single day. And maybe the same is true for you. So let's go through a few of these things, routines, habits that I see women doing with good intention. And then we're going to talk about it. So see if you recognize yourself in any of these. So the first one that I see a lot is the morning routine, right? Come to me, you're like, I have put so much intention into my morning routine. I've built it with care, right? I protect it like it's my own child. I have a specific order of what happens in the morning. I have my water, and then I move my body, and then it's journaling and quiet time, and I make my coffee a certain way at a certain temperature. And, when it goes well, it genuinely sets you up and you feel grounded and you feel like yourself. But then what happens when, your kids wake up an hour early and it kind of blows the whole thing up? Or what happens when you oversleep or you're traveling or life just lifes and not everything goes according to plan? And for a lot of women I know, and honestly, a past version of myself, the answer is that then the day just feels ruined, right? It didn't start how it needs to start. And now this is just going to go downhill from here. And there's this like low grade irritability from the moment that things go sideways, and a subtle but persistent, I think, sense of being off, like you're already behind before the day even really gets going. And then here's what I want you to really notice: that feeling, that tightness, that frustration, that I needed this thing to happen in this order and I didn't get it feeling. That's a stress response. And it's triggered by the very things that you've built into your life to try to prevent stress. Like, that irony is not lost on me. So that's one that I see. And maybe it's not a perfect morning routine, but it's some sort of like sequence of things that you do intentionally. And when it doesn't happen, it's frustrating. Then there's like the workout part of it. And I see this a lot too. We all know that exercise is good for our nervous system. We've heard it 100 times, probably even on this podcast. And so we commit, right? And it's like, all right, I'm going to work out 5 days a week, non-negotiable. This is my new thing now. And then what happens? Life, and you miss a day. And here's where it gets interesting, because for some of you, missing that day doesn't mean missing one day. You're running on this like all or nothing mindset, and that part of your brain has entered the chat. And I already, broke the streak. What's the point? I'll start again on Monday, and then Monday becomes next month, and next month becomes never, until the guilt builds up enough to restart the whole cycle again. And it's not a discipline problem. I see this over and over. It's a nervous system that's attached safety and self-worth to perfect execution in whatever it is, right? Maybe it's not a workout. Maybe it's something else. But every time that streak feels like it breaks, there's a threat signal. It's either shame, self-criticism, and then, the greatest hits album of all your perceived failures starts playing on shuffle, and it's not relaxing, and it's not great for cortisol levels. And then how about what we eat, right? So we talk about our morning routine, how we move our bodies. How about our nutrition? Maybe you are committed to tracking macros. Maybe you're wanting to eat less sugar or reduce your alcohol consumption, or you're going gluten-free, or some combination of all this stuff. All reasonable, all potentially helpful. But then, something comes around. You go out to eat, or it's a kid's birthday party and someone hands you a piece of cake and you eat it because you're a human being at a birthday party, as one does. And then for the next 2 hours or 2 days, there's just this quiet spiral happening in the background, right? And you're doing all the math in your head, and you're cataloging everything else that you ate, and you're starting over and telling yourself that you have no self-control, the whole production. And the thing is that guilt spiral, that mental loop, that's cortisol, that's sympathetic nervous system activation, fight or flight. And your body does not distinguish between the stress of a genuine crisis and the stress of just eating birthday cake when you weren't supposed to. right? Stress is stress. Your body doesn't know the difference. I hear this with rest a lot too, or stillness, right? And I think this is a sneaky one because if you are meditating or you're building in more stillness into your day-to-day, it's not even a habit you're doing. It's a habit you're not doing, probably, and feeling bad about it constantly. So maybe it is, I used meditation as the example in my notes, but it could be anything else, right? That you know you want to do because it's good for you. And it just lives in your calendar or on your to-do list or in your mind. And every day that you don't do it, what happens is that you carry a small but very real weight of not being the person that you want to be or that you think you should be, right? And that weight in and of itself is a stressor. All of the shoulds in your life are stressors. They're this gap between who you're being and who you think you, and I say this in air quotes, should be. And that's a low-grade nervous system activation, and it's running quietly in the background every day. Why do I share all of this? There's a through line in all of this, right? However it applies to you. These are all good habits. The morning routine, the workouts, the nutrition awareness, meditation. Like I actually want you doing most of these things. They're genuinely good habits and ideas. The problem isn't the habit itself, right? It's the rigidity. It's the perfectionism. It's the self-judgment wrapped up and around the habit. And that wrapper is doing the same thing to your nervous system that the stress you're trying to manage is doing. It's sending the same signal. And that signal is just like, you are not safe unless this happens. You are not safe unless this goes perfectly. And a nervous system that doesn't feel safe is a nervous system in survival mode. So why is this happening? And why does stress management, as we refer to it, keep falling short? Well, a few reasons. First, having a full, meaningful life will always have pressure, right? There's always going to be a certain level of stress that comes with carrying a lot. Like you cannot optimize your way to a stress-free existence. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. You have kids who need things from you. You have work that matters and comes with real stakes. You have relationships with other human beings that are inherently complicated. You have goals. And I think just goals create tension by definition, right? It's like something I'm working toward and I'm not there yet. Some stress isn't avoidable. It's actually necessary. And that's what growth is, right? That's what growth feels like so often. We don't want to actually eliminate that stress. We actually want another strategy altogether. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that stress management keeps your ceiling exactly where it is. Let me explain. When you're trying to manage your stress, what you're doing is you're just rearranging all of the different stressors inside the same size container. So you're making it more bearable maybe, but the container itself isn't changing, i.e. your capacity, your nervous system's actual ability to hold stress and pressure without tipping into survival mode. It's staying exactly the same. So you're managing, right? Life keeps coming, you manage harder, and eventually the managing itself becomes part of the stress. And then third, and this is the one that, my sleep story really illustrates, is that control and rigidity are their own stressors. So the tighter we're gripping to our, stress management strategies, the more our nervous system is reading that white knuckling as a threat signal. Because, here's what I've learned about how the nervous system actually works. It doesn't feel safe through control. It feels safe through the ability to be flexible, move, adapt, and not fall apart when things don't go according to plan. That's where we want to be, right? We want to be resilient in our nervous system, not rigid. So if stress management isn't the goal, what are we doing here, right? What is the goal? What are we working toward? And here's the reframe that I keep coming back to. What if instead of asking ourselves, how do I manage my stress? right? What if you started asking yourself, how do I expand my capacity to actually hold it? That's the pivot. So instead of asking, how do I manage my stress? Start asking yourself, how do I expand my capacity to hold the stress of my life? It's a different question and it's a completely different framework. When we're just managing our stress, we're just coping with what's there, right? Expanding your capacity, you guys, that's really growing what your nervous system can actually hold without dysregulating you in the process. So it's not about making your life smaller to fit inside your current limits. I want to teach you guys how to make your container bigger. So the life you're living, the life you're actually living, the full life, the demanding life, the beautiful life, the sometimes chaotic life that you are building doesn't constantly overwhelm you. And it's the work that I'm most lit up about right now. Honestly, it's the direction that this whole show is heading. There are some things coming that I'm so genuinely excited about, and I'll share more on that soon. But before I send you off, I want to give you something to reflect on or just sit with this week. So pick one thing that you're doing to manage your stress. Maybe it's a habit that you have. Maybe it's a protocol. Maybe it's a routine. And I want you to ask yourself, I don't know, maybe just 2 or 3 questions. Am I rigid or all or nothing about this, right? Is that habit, that thing you're trying to do to help manage your stress, does it have to happen perfectly or then it doesn't happen at all, right? Just ask yourself, just notice and start reflecting. Also reflect, how do you feel when that thing doesn't happen or it doesn't go right or you miss it, right? Do you feel guilt? Do you feel shame? Does that inner critic start chiming in? Does it cause you anxiety when you miss the thing or it doesn't happen according to plan, right? Maybe the pressure you've built around this habit is adding to your stress load rather than actually reducing it. Start to ask yourself that and be radically honest with yourself, because at this point, just start noticing. You can't expand what you can't see, okay? So awareness is always where the work begins. And if any of this lands for you and you feel like you've been white knuckling your way through stress and like forcing yourself to manage your stress and you feel like you're just losing ground, I want you to know there's a different way to work. And I've mentioned it a little bit, but it's coming soon. I've been building something I'm really excited about called the Capacity Method. And it's a brand new program I'm going to be launching later this spring. And it's designed entirely around helping you expand your nervous system capacity. So the life you're actually living, this dream life, right? You guys have been so intentional about building this life, the family, the marriage, the business, the work, whatever it is. It's really good, but I want to help you guys to get to a place where it doesn't feel like too much. So more details to come on that, but the waitlist is open now. So if that's something you're curious about and you want to be on the list that gets all the details when we launch and you want access to waitlist bonuses and savings, go ahead. You can click the link in the show notes and just put your name on the list and I'll reach out to you as we get closer. And if this episode hit home, send it to someone. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Maybe you have a friend and she has every wellness app or supplement shelf. She could stock a pharmacy, morning routine, right? And still feels like she's barely holding it together. Send her this episode. And there is more to come on how we actually go about expanding our capacity. So stay tuned. I love you guys and I'll talk to you soon.
If you love Mommy's podcast, leave a review.
Thanks for listening to Alive and Well. If today's episode resonated, would you do me a favor? Take 30 seconds and leave a 5-star rating and short review. It really helps to get this show out to other people just like you who could also use the information in this podcast. And if you're ready to take the next step in regulating your nervous system, download my free Nervous System Reset Guide. It's linked right in the show notes. Inside, you'll find simple, body-based practices to help you feel more clear, calm, and connected starting today. Make sure you're following the show so you don't miss out on what's coming next, because you were made to thrive. Fully alive, fully present, and fully well. I'll see you soon.